Hey guys, welcome to Stock Talk on August 14th. Today is Tuesday and we're looking at the SPY or the Spider, which tracks the S&P 500. We're looking at the intraday chart. So recall once again from our previous video that we talked about a specific resistance area of 284. And a lot of interesting trends have developed today. A lot of specific movements that we're going to be talking about everything. So 284 resistance here. This is the white line. You guys can see that we tested the resistance several times today, and for the most part we did get kind of rejected, but we made a high today, and all of a sudden you guys can see after market that we're floating above the resistance area. Now I want you guys to take notice of this. We talked about a possible resistance. However, you have to question why the markets was initially, can you guys see initially we tried to pull down, but then we consolidated at the resistance area. What kind of pattern is that? So once you take the course, of course, you will know that this is a more bullish trajectory. As a matter of fact, we're looking for now a possible SPY reversal back to the upside. Even though we've gotten rejected today, we managed to consolidate near the top, and you guys can correlate this with the VIX, which tracks volatility. You can see how much the VIX dropped today. I want to take you guys back out to the 180-day chart just to help you identify where the resistance area comes from, and you guys can see that it became a resistance area here, and all of a sudden it became a resistance area here. So I want you guys to keep in mind that for the most part, the markets really didn't drop that much. You guys can see for the S&P 500, we only dropped a couple of percentage points. So from here to the top, we only dropped a little around 1.5%. It really wasn't that big of a correction. As a matter of fact, I was waiting for the correction to hit around 279.40 before my best entry area into the markets. But because, you know, people are talking about how the market is unbreakable, the economy is unbreakable, and really you guys can see it from today how the markets pushed to the resistance. And one of your comments talked about, Ben, SPY tested 284 again, as you said, but struggled to stay above. Tomorrow, what are the chances it will try to test today's high of the day and get rejected and fall like it did on Monday to test the support? So given today's movement, it is more unlikely for that to happen in terms of retesting that support. Can it happen? It sure can. We can certainly contest this 282 mark once again just to see if we can keep that up. And if we do see that double bounce back up, that is a very good confirmation that we are back on the uptrend, I think. But right now, we look pretty bullish, and we look like, at the very least right now, that we're on a path of reversal back to the upside. And you know, if you guys are shorting the market right now, the one thing you want to be cautious of is if you're looking at intraday short, what happens if the market gaps up over the resistance? You won't even able to cover your short because the market isn't trading. So that's just something to keep in mind, because markets are generally bullish, and whenever we see that U-turn or that reversal back to the upside, we have to just take that and say, okay, we're ready to go up, let's do it. Because if you're in a short, you certainly don't want to be caught in the middle. So because you guys can see markets are bullish, it's on an uptrend. So all right, let's take a look at volatility, and here's TVIX looking at volatility, and you guys can see right now, you know, on the 1 year chart, you guys can see that, you know, generally this candle could play to the upside. However, you guys can see that we matched that candle by forming a red candle, coming back down. Does it mean that we have to come back down? No, but this is certainly playing into the story that SPY is ready to go over that resistance. Whether it goes up tomorrow, we'll see. If it retests that resistance as the new support, we'll see. At that time, we can definitely go into the markets and be bullish if that occurs. But we'll take a look at that when it comes to it tomorrow. All right, let's take a look at crude oil. Now, crude oil, for the most part, here's the thing about crude oil. we talked about a resistance area for crude oil at 67.80, 67.86, around that general vicinity, and you guys can see it actively has acted as a resistance area. You guys can see that it's acted as resistance several times, and now we're getting rejected. And we were talking about a possible entry into crude oil if we held this moving average. Right now, are we holding this moving average? The answer is yes, we're holding the moving average. But what's happening now? We're forming more of a bear flag pattern. Can you guys see this bear flag pattern? I'm going to show you guys this pattern right now. So here's crude oil. Here's the flag pattern right here. And look at this leg. Can you guys see this? Flag, drop. Here's that secondary drop. And then here's that area, right? Looks like crude oil could break the moving average at this point. And at this point, you know, one had to question why we were not able to pull and close above. We managed to pull to the 20-period moving average today, but we managed to pull into the negative. For the most part, crude oil was even today, you know, but then all of a sudden after market, we saw it did continue to collapse today. So, you know, this is a trend that you have to pay attention. And if this trend does hold up, we expect lower prices for crude oil, and crude oil all of a sudden is not looking very bullish. As a matter of fact, it is looking more bearish at this point, and that's just something to be cautious about. So UWT, I want to show you guys what's been happening. This is the ticker that follows crude oil. We made this very nice tail candle yesterday, but what happened today? We sold off after we gapped up. Not a very good sign for crude oil if we were selling off after a gap up. And you guys can see that we're pretty much correlating with crude oil back at the moving average. So that's just something to keep in mind as we move on forward. All right, let's take a look at /NG natural gas. So here's natural gas. You guys can see that natural gas was pulling inwards, but all of a sudden, look what happened. We continued higher. So I need you guys to pay attention that the resistance is at 2.989 and that we're getting very close to that area. Doesn't mean that we're going to come straight down after we hit that resistance, but we do expect that resistance to function as a resistance area, at least for like a day. And therefore, you guys can see that we're heading higher. Once again, natural gas looks very bullish. UGAZ went up yet another 2.5% nearly. So we talked about how we were pro natural gas. I mean, I'm still pro natural gas, but is this the optimal entry point into natural gas? I would have to say no. However, if you're in natural gas, you know, you're good to go. You've been good to go since you were up here after we saw this reversal area. So UGAZ, all right, keep that in mind. /GC gold futures. Gold futures continue to be in big trouble. You guys can see how gold was pretty much flat. It was up a little bit, but what did JNUG do? JNUG that followed gold. JNUG went down yet another 2.4%, and that is certainly not a good sign. If you can imagine, gold was even basically today, but JNUG pushed down yet another over 2%. So what's interesting about gold? Well, the interesting thing about gold is that we're going to continue to fall, and we're going to continue to fall until we see that sign of a trend change. And the next support is 1148, 1147, 1140, around that area, and that is a lot of room to fall. Again, does it have to get all of it down there at once? It doesn't, but there's your potential, and we have no sign of reversal. Big problem for gold. All right, let's take your tickers. Let's take a look at your tickers. All right, so we have Zhang. Amazing, whatever you said comes true. Well, thank you, Zane. Thank you for that comment. And, you know, I just try to really provide, you know, as objective analysis, technical analysis as possible, without really, you know, putting significant bias into either the bullish or bearish case. But of course, we have to have a little bit of bias, as you guys know, to make a case. Otherwise, you're going to be like, oh, it's 50, 50, 50, 50. It's never going to work. So yeah, thank you for that comment. Christian, I appreciate your great content. Thank you for that. And BLCM potential entry around $6.50. So the one thing you have to keep in mind for this trend is BLCM is on a constant downtrend. We're looking at the chart, and you guys can see that it made a double top all the way at 2276, and we formed a reversal back down here, and you guys can see how we're edging downwards. Is this a good entry point? I mean, you could play this possible retracement back up, which is maybe 5-6%, and this is a pharmaceutical company, so you can imagine that this one moves rather quickly. You guys can see by the size of the candles that this one does move rather quickly, but it's just not a very good trend. This is on a downtrend, lower high plus lower low. You know, you really want to monitor your risk if you're going into this one. Evan, could you please comment on GBTC? I'll take a look at GBTC, which is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is in trouble. Bitcoin is one that kind of looks like gold right now, and I'll just take you guys to, GBTC. And I actually drew this in a long time ago. I don't know when I drew this in, but here's the wedge pattern you guys can see, and all of a sudden we are seeing Bitcoin. The previous support area is becoming a what? A resistance area, and this looks like a continuation move to the downside. And you know, this is not very good for Bitcoin. I would expect lower prices to come for Bitcoin until we see that trend change. We talked about a trend change here. We saw that reversal signal here. However, now since it's going back down, we don't see that signal, and therefore we certainly can't be bullish for Bitcoin in the near term. Space Ghost, what is up with AMD? Oh, yeah, so AMD, I think Rico talked about it yesterday as well. Thank you for that comment. This is why, you know, having a community is so great, you guys, right? So here's AMD. You guys can see that we pretty much hit an all-time high 2028, and we closed at $20. AMD, you know, I'm always waiting for that retracement back. At the very least, retracement back to the 20 EMA. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet, and therefore I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. It hasn't happened yet, and of course it's going higher. Am I sad that I haven't been catching this AMD train? I'm not really that sad that I haven't been catching this upper leg of this train, but you know, I know where my entry point is. AMD continues to be bullish until said otherwise, but I need you guys to recognize that the resistance is sternly situated at 2028, and just keep that in mind. Tango, wanted to visit MU here. Do you still see value in it? So good question. Actually, I wanted to do an update on MU. This is Micron Technology, and the one thing about MU is you guys can see that once it broke this trend line, you guys can see that it was actively pushing lower, and we revisited last time in terms of how it was getting rejected near the 20 period moving average, and I said it was not looking very appetizing if it was getting rejected at the 20 period moving average. What was I looking for? I was looking for a push over the 20 period moving average and holding over that 20 period moving average. None of that occurred, and therefore I wasn't in Micron Technology after I saw this move right here. And you know, now it's continuously going lower. So right now I do agree with your assessment that because we broke a trend line, because there's no sign of a reversal, we can't really revisit this one, and therefore I just have to wait. Is Micron Technology a good company to invest in? Sure, but right now is just not the time. All right, TWLO, thank you for your submission on Facebook. So TWLO, let's take a look at this one. Okay, so TWLO is one that moves rather quickly. You guys can see these candles in which it's been pushing higher and higher, and broke over the previous resistance area. So the one thing I need you guys to keep in mind is, once again, we're very significantly over the 20 EMA line, and therefore we need to wait for this one to play out. You guys can see how we broke over, but at the very least, you know, I want it to retest perhaps the 50 period moving average here, perhaps even this, you know, the breaking over the resistance or the new support area, perhaps retest the $67 area. I don't know if it's going to come down all the way to that area, probably won't, but I need it just to come down a little more. This one moves rather quickly, so you can imagine, you know, what goes up can go up even more. But, you know, once it makes an up move, what does it like to do, you guys? Right? Up move, consolidate, then up move, consolidate, and then look, it even comes down a little bit. So I would be cautious of this. But at the very least, we need this one to play out a couple days to see what happens. Joe, we'll take a look at SQ Square. Square, guys, nothing really wrong with this chart. So I want you guys to remember, if you guys have been with me in terms of stock talks, let me show you guys what I was looking at a long time ago. If you guys have been with me with stock talks back here, we talked about entries into Square in this boxed area. I actually have not taken this box out. And I said that every time we went over the 20 EMA and gapped up, in this case, we would continue to go higher. Look at this right here. Look at this over here. We talked about it when it was around $50. Now it's at $75. And you might be like, Kevin, okay, that's great that you were correct in the past. But what really matters is, what can I do with Square now? Well, with Square, nothing is wrong with this chart. Yeah, we're making an all-time one-year high, and this continues to be bullish. And you guys can see this is an all-time high, as a matter of fact. You know, it looks perfectly fine to me. The one thing I would, again, caution you on is, you know, it is getting overstretched over the 20 EMA, but you guys have to ask yourself, you know, at what point are you willing to take that risk? You know, such that, you know, things that go up can go higher, and this one certainly can go higher as we move on forward. So if you guys were in it at this point and you kept it, congratulations on your hold on Square. You would have made almost 50% by now. And this was just earlier this year. This was 4 months ago, guys. So great job. Square continues to look bullish. Nothing wrong with the chart. Good call out, Joe. Okay, so let's take a look at the next ticker, shall? Could you please take a look at here? So here is HEAR, and you guys can see that we made a high of 34.50, and now we're coming back down. So you guys want to be very cautious in this one, as this one has gone significantly higher, and this is on a current downtrend. So for this stock, I think if you're shorting it, you're better off shorting it than going long on it. And there is potential for this one to drop even further. I'm looking for a near-term support around $26. Certainly doesn't have to hold, but then the next support around $23, possibly even around $19 or $20. So, you know, a lot of potential for this one to drop. MB Trader, like the content, I think you should go over FANG and see how it affects SPY. So we know FANG does make up a portion of the S&P 500, and we do go over some of those stocks, right? Sometimes I talk about Amazon and whatnot. So we do go over some of that, and we do go over the S&P 500. So be on the lookout for that one. Jason, great content. Thank you for your comment. Made my day. Yeah, that's what I'm here to do. And then finally, we have Addy Boy, AEP. See some upside. So herein lies the problem of AEP, and you guys can see that this is an active area of resistance, and we are very close. We're on a horizontal trajectory, resistance 7150, and that we haven't been able to break over it. Until we can actively break over it and close over this mark on a daily basis, I really can't, you know, advise, or I'm not advising anyways, but I can't really see an uptrend for this one just yet. So, you know, as we're nearing that area, I would be cautious, but right now getting rejected and just can't really, not much potential, as you guys can see from that little margin of profit. Alibaba. Oh, hey guys, K9, thank you for your submission. Who was in long Alibaba? Okay. And I talked about how it broke this trend line and that it was possibly not looking very nice. And it was on this day, August 1st or some day around there. Who did that? You know, someone mentioned that and they exited. Now look where Alibaba is, right? Which goes to say, that, you know, for the most part, when trend lines start breaking, we certainly don't want to start hoping in terms of like, I hope it's going to get back that trend line. That's chances are 9 out of 10 times that that's not going to happen. And you guys can see that it's active declining. I can't visit, guys, I can't visit something that's active declining. They certainly can't go long on this one, especially when earnings are coming up in next week or 2 weeks from now, 1.5 weeks. This is looking not good. Active decline right now. And as with a lot of these Asian companies right now, we're looking at IQ, we're looking at Baba. They're just actively dropping, and we just can't, you know, there's nothing to play in this case unless you're shorting it. So that's pretty much it. Farzad, I'll take a look at one of your tickers just because for the sake of time. Twitter, that's the first one that you called out. So for the most part, we talked about Twitter in terms of we are not looking good. Twitter, it can certainly go sideways a little bit, but right now this one has formed a massive rejection candle, and now this one could, we talked about, potentially go to that 28 mark, possibly even 24, or even less than $20 at this point. So Twitter is not looking good. I would expect lower prices to come in the next few months. So with that, thank you very much for watching this video. I will see you guys tomorrow, Wednesday, for, of course, another Stock Talk. Be on the lookout for the markets, right now, markets are finding that signal of that reversal again. What's that reversal signal? The reversal back up. So, you know, we always have to keep that in mind, and we'll take a look tomorrow. So in the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Happy trading.